The afternoon sun shimmered on the metal of parked cars as Officer Marcus Daniels strolled down Maple Street, the radio on his shoulder crackling with the usual weekend chatter. It was a quiet day in Brookhaven, families barbecuing, kids chasing each other with melting ice cream cones, someone's music spilling softly from a balcony. Daniels liked these days. They reminded him why he joined the force in the first place, not for the chases or arrests, but for the small moments of peace he got to protect. He had just turned the corner near the playground when he heard it, a sharp, desperate cry cutting through the laughter. It wasn't the sound of a scraped knee or a toy stolen in play. It was pure panic. His head snapped up. At first, he saw nothing unusual, parents chatting near the swings, a dog barking at pigeons. Then he noticed a small figure darting across the grass, stumbling, crying, a boy, no older than 7, running straight toward him. Daniels instinctively stepped forward, hand resting on his belt, not out of caution but readiness. "Hey, hey, slow down," he called out, but the boy kept running until he collided with the officer's legs, clutching them desperately. "Mister, please, help, please," the boy sobbed, his voice broken, his tiny chest heaving. Daniels bent down, placing his large, steady hands on the boy's trembling shoulders. "Hey, it's okay, buddy. You're safe now. Tell me what's wrong." That's when he saw it. For a split second, his mind refused to register what his eyes were seeing. The dark, wet patches spreading across the boy's white t-shirt, the sticky sheen on his small hands. Blood. Not a scrape or a small cut. Too much for that. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The world seemed to narrow around that one horrifying detail, red against white, innocence soaked in something terrible. He forced himself to stay calm, even as adrenaline surged through his veins. "You're hurt," he said softly, scanning the boy's body with trained eyes. But there were no visible wounds. The blood wasn't coming from him. Daniel's heart dropped. "Whose blood is this, son?" The boy shook his head, eyes wide and glistening. It's Mommy's," he stammered, the words barely a whisper. "She told me to run and find a policeman." "You're a policeman, right?" Daniel swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. "Yeah, I'm a police officer," he said, voice gentle but steady. "You did the right thing coming to me. You're very brave. Okay. Now tell me, what happened to your mom?" The boy's sobs came harder now, but he tried to speak between them. "There was a man. He came to our car. Mommy told me to lock my door, but then he yelled, and, she screamed." He rubbed at his eyes with bloody fingers, leaving streaks across his cheeks. "She said, 'Run, Evan, run.' So I ran. I ran as fast as I could." Daniel's heart twisted at the sound of that small, breaking voice. He pulled his radio closer to his mouth, pressing the button with a calmness that betrayed his racing pulse. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12, I have a child covered in blood, possible assault in progress near Maple and 5th. I need an ambulance and backup immediately." The reply crackled back. "Copy that, Unit 12. Backup en route." Daniels kept his focus on the boy. "Evan, I need you to take a deep breath for me, okay? Can you point me to where your mom is?" The boy nodded shakily and lifted a trembling arm, pointing toward the tree line at the edge of the park. "There. Down the road. By the old gas station. Our car is there." Daniel stood, taking Evan's hand in his own, small and sticky but holding tight, as if it were the only thing anchoring him. "You're doing great, buddy. We're going to find your mom right now." As they started walking, Daniels noticed people beginning to stare, parents pulling their children closer, murmurs spreading as they saw the blood. He flashed a reassuring nod to a few nearby, signaling everything was under control, though inside, he felt the weight of every second ticking by. Evan looked up at him, eyes red and wet. "Is my mom gonna be okay?" he asked, voice trembling. Daniels tightened his grip gently. "We're going to do everything we can for her. I promise." As they reached his patrol car, Daniels opened the door and helped Evan inside, buckling him carefully. The boy clung to the seatbelt, still trembling. For a brief moment, Daniels paused outside the door, taking a deep breath. His pulse thundered in his ears. This wasn't a routine call anymore. He glanced back at the playground, the calm, sunny world still going on, and then at the frightened boy in his car. Somewhere, Not far from here, a woman was bleeding and possibly dying. And this child, this tiny, terrified witness, had done the bravest thing imaginable. He'd run toward help. Daniels climbed into the driver's seat, flipped on the siren, and sped toward the direction Evan had pointed, his mind laser-focused. The peace of Brookhaven was gone, replaced by the sharp, urgent promise of a race against time. The wail of the siren tore through the quiet suburban streets as Officer Daniels sped toward the direction Evan had pointed. The little boy sat in the back seat, his legs dangling off the edge, fingers still clutching the seatbelt like it was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. Every bump in the road made him flinch. Daniels kept glancing in the rearview mirror, trying to offer small reassurances between bursts of radio chatter. "You're doing great, Evan," he said over the hum of the engine. "We're almost there. Just hang on, okay?" The boy nodded weakly, eyes fixed on the flashing red and blue reflection dancing on the glass. "Mommy doesn't like blood," he murmured. "She gets dizzy when she sees it." Daniel's grip on the wheel tightened. "Then we'll make sure she doesn't see it this time," he said quietly. They turned onto Old Pine Road, the houses thinning out until the cracked pavement gave way to an overgrown stretch near the abandoned gas station. It had been closed for years, a ghost of a building with boarded-up windows and faded graffiti. Daniels slowed the car, scanning the area. The boy suddenly leaned forward, pressing his small hands to the glass. "There. That's our car." Daniel's gaze followed the boy's finger. At the edge of the lot sat an old blue sedan, its driver's side door wide open, one shoe lying in the dirt beside it. A chill ran down his spine. He parked at an angle, called in the location, and turned to Evan. "Listen, I need you to stay here, all right? Lock the doors and don't move until I come back. No matter what you hear." The boy's eyes widened. "But what if she needs me?" Daniels forced a reassuring smile. "She needs you safe. You did your job, Evan, now let me do mine." He gave the boy's shoulder a firm, comforting squeeze before stepping out into the dry, whispering wind. The smell hit him first: gasoline, rust, and something faintly metallic. Blood. He approached the car cautiously, hand hovering near his holster. "Police," he called out. "If anyone's here, identify yourself." Silence. Only the faint creak of a door moving in the breeze. He crouched low, peering through the open driver's side. A woman sat slumped over the steering wheel, her head resting against the horn. Dried blood streaked her arm, and her breathing was shallow but present. Relief flooded through him, sharp and quick. She was alive. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Daniels said as he reached for his radio. "Dispatch, I have one adult female, unconscious but breathing. Requesting immediate medical response to Old Pine gas station." As he leaned in to check her pulse, a sound made him freeze, the snap of a branch behind him. He turned just in time to see a figure darting away into the trees at the edge of the lot. Tall, male, wearing dark clothes. "Stop, police!" Daniels shouted, already sprinting after him. The suspect bolted through the underbrush, leaves and twigs crunching underfoot. Daniels' boots pounded the ground in rhythm with his heartbeat. The man glanced back once, just enough for Daniels to catch a glimpse of his face, and shaven, wild-eyed, a cut across his cheek. The chase tore through the woods. Daniels could hear his own breath, rough and steady, as he closed the distance. "You can't run forever," he called, voice echoing between the trees. The man stumbled on a root, and that was all the opening Daniels needed. He lunged, tackling him to the ground. The struggle was short but fierce, the suspect clawing, twisting, trying to reach something in his pocket. Daniels reacted instantly, pinning his arm behind his back and snapping the cuffs on with practiced precision. "Got you," he muttered, breath ragged. "You're done." The man spat dirt and muttered something incoherent, but Daniels didn't care. He hauled him up and dragged him back toward the clearing, keeping one hand firmly on the suspect's shoulder. When they emerged from the trees, the faint wail of approaching sirens reached his ears. Backup in an ambulance. Evan's small face was pressed against the window of the patrol car, eyes wide and terrified. Daniels caught his gaze and gave a quick nod, the silent signal that things were under control. The boy hesitated, then mouthed, "Mom." Daniels turned to see two paramedics rushing toward the woman, carefully lifting her from the car and onto a stretcher. Her eyelids fluttered weakly, and a soft moan escaped her lips. He exhaled deeply for the first time in what felt like hours. She was alive. As they secured the suspect in the back of another cruiser, Daniels returned to Evan, opening the car door gently. The boy looked up, eyes searching his face for an answer before he could even ask. "She's alive," Daniels said simply, and that was all it took. The boy threw his arms around him, burying his face in the officer's uniform. Daniels froze for half a heartbeat, then knelt down and hugged him back, feeling the small frame shake with quiet sobs. "It's okay," he murmured. "You did everything right, Evan. You helped save your mom today." The flashing lights reflected off the tears on the boy's cheeks as he looked up. "You're gonna make her better, right?" Daniels smiled faintly. "She's in good hands now. The doctors will take care of her." As the ambulance doors closed and the paramedics sped away, Daniels watched them disappear into the distance, a trail of light fading into the dusk. The suspect sat sullen in the other cruiser, silent and defeated. And standing in the middle of it all, Officer Daniels felt the weight of what had just unfolded settle deep in his chest. One call, one terrified child, one life hanging by a thread, and maybe, just maybe, a small miracle born from a little boy's courage to run toward hope instead of hiding from fear. The flashing red and blue lights bathed the scene in color as dusk descended over the lot. The paramedics worked quickly, their voices low and urgent, the rhythmic beeping of equipment breaking the tense quiet. Officer Daniels stood nearby, one hand resting gently on Evan's shoulder as the boy watched his mother being lifted into the ambulance. The woman's face was pale but peaceful now, her breathing steadier under the oxygen mask. "She's going to be okay," Daniels said softly, his voice meant more to soothe the boy than to reassure himself. Evan didn't answer right away. His small hands fidgeted with the hem of his shirt, now stiff and darkened with dried blood. He stared at the ambulance doors as they closed with a heavy thud, flinching slightly at the sound. Daniels crouched down to meet his eyes, making his tone as calm and solid as the earth beneath them. "Your mom's safe now, buddy. You were brave, and because of that, she's alive. You hear me?" The boy nodded slowly, blinking away tears. "I was scared," he whispered. "I didn't know where to go." Daniels smiled faintly. "But you still ran. That's what courage looks like. Doing the right thing even when you're scared." He hesitated for a moment, then added, "Your mom's going to be real proud when she wakes up." The boy gave a small, wobbly smile that made Daniels' chest tighten. He reached up and tugged gently on the officer's sleeve. "You promise she'll be okay?" "I promise," Daniels said, though promises like that were heavy things. Still, he meant every word. As the ambulance pulled away, its siren cutting through the twilight, Daniels rose to his feet. The suspect sat handcuffed in the back of another patrol car, his head down, jaw tight. The man's once defiant glare had been replaced with a blank stare, the kind of emptiness Daniels had seen too many times before. A paramedic's flashlight had revealed the faint cut on the man's cheek and streaks of blood on his hands, proof enough of what he'd done. Daniels approached the other officers, exchanged a few clipped words about evidence, reports, next steps, the mechanical rhythm of procedure. But his mind wasn't on paperwork. It kept drifting back to the boy, sitting on the hood of the patrol car, legs swinging, his small form swallowed by the oversized police jacket someone had draped over his shoulders. When the suspect was finally driven away, the air grew quiet again, broken only by the hum of crickets. Daniels walked back to Evan and leaned against the hood beside him. The boy looked up, face lit faintly by the fading emergency lights. "Where will they take her?" Evan asked. "To County General," Daniels replied. "It's not far. She'll get the best care there." "Can I see her?" "Not tonight," Daniels said gently. "She needs rest and the doctors need to help her first. But I'll make sure someone takes you to see her as soon as it's okay." Evan nodded, then hesitated before asking, "Do I have to go to the police station now?" Daniels looked at him. This tiny, blood-stained child who had just lived through something no one should. "For a little bit, yeah," he said quietly. "Just until we find some family for you. We'll keep you safe, okay? I promise." Evan's eyes filled again, but this time with relief more than fear. He didn't cry. He just leaned closer, resting his head against Daniel's side. The gesture was so small, so trusting, that it nearly undid the officer. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and stood there silently, letting the moment stretch. The backup units began clearing out, one by one, until only the hum of the cruiser engines and the soft rustle of leaves remained. Above them, the first stars began to pierce through the darkening sky. When it was finally time to go, Daniels lifted Evan into the front seat of his car, a small break in the usual rules. "You earned it," he said when the boy gave him a puzzled look. "Co-pilot gets to sit up front." The boy managed a small laugh. "Do co-pilots get snacks?" Daniels chuckled. "We'll see what the station's vending machine can do." As they drove away from the scene, the world outside seemed quieter than before, almost reverent. The flashing lights faded behind them, replaced by the warm glow of street lamps and the steady hum of tires on asphalt. Evan leaned against the seat, exhaustion overtaking him. Within minutes, his head lolled to the side, eyes fluttering shut. Daniels glanced at him and felt a wave of something deeper than pride, something like gratitude. The kid had been through a nightmare, and yet, even in the middle of it, he'd done the one thing that mattered most. He'd run toward hope. By the time they reached the station, the boy was asleep. Daniels parked, turned off the siren lights, and sat in silence for a long moment. The faint scent of dried blood still lingered, but it no longer felt sharp or horrifying. It felt like a reminder of what had been survived. He got out, gently scooped the boy into his arms, and carried him inside. The station was quiet, a few late shift officers glancing up as he passed. Someone fetched a blanket, and Daniels laid it over Evan as he slept on the bench, his small hands curled near his face. For a moment, Daniels just stood there, watching him breathe, the soft rise and fall of his chest. A warmth settled in his chest, mixing with the exhaustion of the night. When he finally stepped outside for a breath of cool air, the town was still, peaceful again. The kind of peace that comes not from quiet streets, but from knowing something good had managed to happen in the middle of all the bad. Daniels looked up at the stars, exhaled slowly, and whispered to himself, "You did good, kid. You really did."